as much as possible of the city, of course. But as I told you, it's very easy. So within a walking distance. And it's you don't have to change, it is a green line. You don't have to change the line to the city center. Team Belenenses.
Oh, that's the most popular outdoor sport, huh?
That's the most popular outdoor sport, yes.
You mean soccer, right?
Yeah,
Soccer.
outdoor.
But it's a
It's more popular than indoor.
Okay.
As, of course, around the city, see the apartment buildings. Nowadays it is a residential area. But just about 50 years ago, 50 years it's a farming area, and the farmers used to grow here the cereal, the cork and the wheat, and there was lots of windmills to grind the cereals, okay? See? Why they left here to remind us that this is a, used to be a farming area.
You done?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Two windmills.
Corner, not like the Dutch. Yeah, but
Oh,
just different. Like
largest public park in Lisbon. It's called Monsanto Park. Monsanto Park, as I told you, it is the largest public park of Lisbon. It was planted in the 40s. It covers an area of 10,000 square meters. 10,000 square meters. And although we cannot see it from here, inside the park, there is a horse riding school, a tennis court, a golf course. So people come here with the children, especially during weekends and holidays, to spend the day at the park. This is a very important green area in Lisbon. This is like the lung of the city. And this park, the Monsanto Park, it's also one of the limits of the city. Because, for example, now the opposite side of the road, going on the opposite direction,
so much that you can get. Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, we can already see here at the right-hand side some of the arches of the Lisbon's aqueducts. This is an aqueduct, an 18th century aqueduct that was used back in the 18th century to bring water from the outskirts to Lisbon, because we had a problem with the supply of fresh water here to Lisbon. So in the 18th century, people fresh water. So he decided to help build this aqueduct to bring the water. And here you only see a small section of the aqueduct, a small section, 30 kilometers long, because it has to go outside Lisbon as far as the springs of fresh water and bring it here to Lisbon. So because this is so long, more than 30 kilometers long, this aqueduct is considered the longest stone monument in Europe. It was built between 1732 and 1748, and it was active for more than 200 years, because it was active from 1748 up to 1968. Arch of the aqueduct.
Get me back that.
So, our king, John V, also, besides Napoleon had decreed the continental blockade in 1806. He wanted the Portuguese to close his ports and harbors, the ports and the harbors to the English ships. But England was our oldest ally, and so our king at the time, John VI, didn't obey Napoleon. He didn't have to, but Napoleon got very angry, and he sent these 3 Napoleonic invasions. The first in 1807, the second in 1808, and the third in 1810. It was very bad for the country because the majority of the French troops, they were mercenaries, and so they got involved in fights not only with the helping the Portuguese troops and some generals like the famous. And a little bit before the first invasion in 1807, the Portuguese royal family went to Brazil to exile. And of the reign was where the king was staying, so the royal family returned from Brazil. And 1 year after, in 1822, Brazil declared independence. So ladies and gentlemen, if you look here to the left hand side, in the middle of this small round, you can see the memorial to the victims, the soldiers and the civilians that died during the French invasions in the first quarter of the 19th century. It is the head office of the largest Portuguese bank. And if you keep looking to the left, you see a brick chimney that was left there to remind us that this building used to be an ancient ceramics factory, tiles factory. In 1992, they have never made any repairs. Now they are making an underground parking lot, they are restoring the bull ring, making an underground parking lot, some shops, and they are going to reopen it. It begins March, April. The bull season begins in Easter Sunday and it goes up to September, October. You know that the Portuguese, they clap their hands to Here in Portugal, I think you probably know that here 90% of our population is Roman Catholic, but we have under our constitution freedom for all the other religions. Building, it is an 18th century building, and this building, it is the official residence of the Spanish ambassador, not the Spanish embassy, but the official residence of the Spanish ambassador. And this square, this very large square,
Spain Square.
Spain Square. Spain. Our neighbor, Spain. We used to have lots of street markets in Lisbon. I just have 1 or 2 street markets. This is one of them.
Cascais, Monsanto, Alcantara. Which one's there?
And the sides.
No, the one.
Beige building, it is a private theatre belonging to a private theatre company, but behind the theatre you see the minaret and the green dome. They belong to the Lisbon's Mask. That's the Lisbon's Mask. It is a building that you can see the aqueduct again, the 18th century Lisbon's aqueduct. Here to the left hand side you have this big wall with this big panel of ceramic tile. This is another very good example of the use of the panels of ceramic tile. This was commissioned by the town hall to a Portuguese artist. As you can see, it is an abstract pattern, but according to the interpretation of the artist, this panel of tiles represents the colors, the shades of Lisbon from sunrise to sunset. Now we are going to drive past underneath the widest arch of the Lisbon's aqueduct.
Is Is it still being used to just
No, now it's just for decoration. It stopped being used in 1968.
thank you?
Now we have to tap water. So. If you look at the far end, it's like meant of Christ the King. On highway number 5. And then at a certain point we are going to leave the highway and take National Road number 6, the road that was built back in the 40s along the water, along the Atlantic Ocean and along the Tagus River. Well, the trees that belong to the Monsanto Park, we have to the right hand side the pine trees and to the left hand side some eucalyptus. The eucalyptus were brought from Australia in the 19th century. The 19th century was the century of Romanticism, and it was very fashionable to plant the parks and the gardens with the rare exotic species of plants and trees. So they brought eucalyptus from Australia, and they brought other species of plants from New Zealand, from Africa, from Brazil. And although it's not a native species, nowadays the eucalyptus plays a very important role in one of the Portuguese modern industries, the paper pulp industry. Because while the pine tree takes a long time to grow, to develop, to become an adult tree, about 30-40 years to become an adult tree, the eucalyptus only takes about 8-10 years. In 8-10 years it becomes a fully developed tree. So nowadays they use the eucalyptus more to make the paper pulp, and also they press the leaves of the eucalyptus to make the Portuguese modern industry are the car assembling lines and the car components, because all the cars that we see in all the cars are imported from Europe, from Japan, from the United States. They come in pieces. The majority of the cars come in pieces, and so they have to be assembled on our assembling line. Construction industry, the building industry, all over the country. If you look around you, you will always see something being built, an apartment building, a hotel, a shopping center. Even now, if you look around, you will see the cranes everywhere. And associated to this, in front of us at the far end, we can see the floodlines of the National Stadium. The stadium that was built in the 40s and that is still used nowadays whenever they need some neutral territory to play. Like for example in the tourism. Tourism is one of the most important Portuguese modern industries, and the places that we are going to visit this afternoon, Estoril, Cascais and Sintra, especially oh my god. Portugal was a neutral country during the Second World War. Wide river, tidal river, more salted than fresh water here because we're very close to the mouth of the river, but it's still considered the river.
Tagus River.
Tagus River.
We have a lighthouse here to the left. All the lighthouses that you see along the coast, they still operate after sunset.
It's like Nice.
Like this?
I wish we had palm trees as pretty as they have here.
This is the first of a series of 17th century forts that we are going to see along the coast. That were, all of them were built to protect the coast from the attacks of the pirates, because in the 16th century had the Moorish pirates. But afterwards in the 17th, 18th, 19th century we had other pirates. We had the Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, Dutch spy, and because we have records of piracy up to the 19th century, so it was a must. They belong to the Navy. They are well preserved, although they are closed, they are locked. The majority of them are still used sometimes for military meetings. Sometimes they are used for military. fort marks the mouth of the river. So roughly speaking, that's the place where the river and the Atlantic Ocean mix. So from now on, we'll be driving along the... This is the first beach, the first white sandy beach. And these beaches, they are very crowded during the summer, especially during the favorite holiday month, July. Very plain architecture. The watchtower was transformed into a lighthouse. So it is this fort. It is one of those that sometimes is still used for military. St. Julian's Fort.
St. Julian's Fort.
Water because of surf. National Gambling Casino.
Casino Estoril.
Casino.
As I told you, Cascais is just the next city. It is connected to Estoril, so very soon we'll be arriving to Cascais. We stayed here at Estoril. These yellow buildings. Oops. These yellow buildings, they are the school belonging to the Salesian brothers. So this is the Salesian brothers school, and it was here that the King of Spain, Juan Carlos of Bourbon, studied while he was here in Estoril, while he was an adolescent, and he was here at Estoril with his parents in exile. One of our most beautiful resort areas. But Cascais was just up to the 19th century a small fishing port. Cascais was just up to the middle of the 19th century small fishing. Louis I loved Cascais very much. He started coming to Cascais with his family, with the royal family, especially during the months. A family, as I told you, would bring the royal yacht, the Sirius, because he was, and he used to make some. Nobility started to follow our King Louis I. And Cascais started to develop. They started building more and more infrastructures. And as I told you, nowadays, here at Cascais, this is the last station of the coast. Well, you will not have problems finding restaurants.
Cascais, Portugal. Don Manolo. Cascais. Lalakad-lakad kami sa mga tindahan, sa mga lot. Sa buong Portugal, mga sidewalk puro ganito. Cobblestone. Ito yung mga kalye nila, cobblestone. Ganda ng Europe. Makikita mo sa States, lahat ng sa States ginagaya natin ng Europe. Ito yung old world. America is the new world.